Hello YouTube, welcome back to Stretch's Tricks, Tips, and Tools. My name is Stretch. Here's another good tool. You can pick these up I got this in the Harbor Freight, but it's a little magnetic tray, and as you're doing your work you can drop all your parts in there, and then you won't be searching your garage for nuts and bolts like I do all the time. But it's a handy little tray. They're like $4 or $5, maybe not even that much. A lot of times you get them for free on the ads. So keep your eye out for one of these. They're real handy. Now that we've got the carburetor off, why don't we take that pull starter off and see what's up with it. Looks like somebody's modified this thing here because these aren't the original bolts. What size they are. 7/16. I don't know why they've got the nut on there. Perhaps these bolts were too long and they needed to have the nut on there for a spacer. I don't know. Bang. That one came right out. This one's turning inside that nut for some reason, but I'm sure it's going to come right out. Okay, I've got her. Why they've got, those don't even look like metric threads, but maybe they're. We put all our little bolts over here in the tray so they don't get lost. This is the pull start. Well, I can see why it's not working right. There's too much rope on here, and it's got the wrong size rope to boot. So we're going to fix that before we go back on. And what I found that works real good on these, at least on my lawnmowers and stuff, is just that parachute cord, the nylon parachute cord that you find everywhere. Just a piece of that will work fine. I just had to make put a piece of that on my pressure washer over there. Can't see it now, it's too bright out there, but anyway. So let's take this over to the bench, take it apart, and see what we can do to fix it. Okay, first thing we're going to do, we're going to cut this little cord off of here, because I think that'll work. These little Honda pull starts are real easy to repair. Well, that's real tight. Let me get the proper tool to get that loose. This is a impact screwdriver. It happens to be a snap-on. I've had this one for a long time. Find the proper bit. The way this thing operates is you get it on the screw that you want to screw, and you turn it the way you want the screw to come out, and then you hold on to it tight and you smack it with a hammer, and it pops the screw loose. Just like that. Now this one's, as you can see, it's real dirty inside. These things are supposed to be loose like this. They've got little springs that go underneath them. Don't lose those little springs. And then you let the tension off the spring. It's hard to do because you got too much rope on here, but once you get all the tension off the spring, it just lifts right out. You can see it's got a little hook right here that hooks here automatically when you put it back in. We're going to get this all cleaned up, get a new rope on here, and I'll show you how we're going to put this back together. So hang in there. Once you get this all cleaned out, you want to inspect it, and if you find any places where it's dented in right here, that could rub on the pull mechanism. So you just take my rubber hammer and just tap that back out the way it belongs, and this piece is ready to go. Now we want to get this all cleaned up and get it ready for new hose. I'm not going to take this spring out of here, although maybe I should. I know when you go to take it out, it's just going to go poing, and it takes forever to get it wound back up. I think I'm just going to blow this out real good with the air and soak it real good with some WD-40, and that'll probably make it okay. Okay, we're getting ready to put this together. This is the cord I'm going to use, and here's the knot I'm going to tie. I'm not just going to make an overhand knot. I want to give it another half a twist, stick it through here like this, so that it looks like, I thought I got that melted down on the end there, but I guess not. Anyway, give it an extra half a twist, stick it through. She ends up looking like this. Pull it super tight so she looks like that. And then, just for good measure, put a couple drops of super glue on it, just in case. And that'll make sure that thing never comes loose down inside of there. It only takes a few seconds for the super glue to dry. That's be in there like that. Okay. Now, this thing turns in this direction. So I'm going to put the rope on here. Got like about, I don't know, 3 wraps maybe. Before I get ahead of myself though, let me get my WD-40. Soak this up real good. Mix this off of there. Okay, now to install this, we're going to put the rope in this little notch they gave you right here, this little notch, and I'm going to put this in there, and when you pull on it, it winds up this way, as you can see. So what we want to do is give it a couple of, give it 1, 2 turns, and we're sticking that end out through here. Okay, now let's see if that's going to wind up all the way. See, that'll wind up just fine. So then what we want to do is tie a big knot in here so that that end doesn't get away. Okay, now we're set. Now, you have to make sure this is all cleaned up very well and clean these off very well, because they sit in here, and when you pull on the rope, it causes these things to go out and engage the pulley on the front of the engine. And this piece right here that I'm wiping off is made to go on either left or right side engines. So you have to make sure that you get this oriented in the right way so these things come out. And if you turn this thing this way and these things come out, they're going to engage the engine. If you put it this way and you turn it, they're not going to come out and engage the engine. So you know that this one and this one are the ones where they got to go. But don't forget your little springs. One goes here, and one goes here. And then this piece goes on here. And these little things here, they they engage with these little ramps on the on this piece, and this needs to go. You can see these little tabs here, they fit right in these little notches right here, so it's got to go just like that, pretty much. And before you tighten it all the way, you test it, and you see how these things move out? They move out to catch the flywheel. When you pull the rope, they move out, and that's what we want. And we want to tighten this up tight. We'll give it one little tap with the impact driver. Turn it in this direction. That should be plenty tight. You can check the tightness. Just careful. Now you can see as this thing pulls, those things pull out and engage. You engage that flywheel, and that's what you want. We're going to give this a little loop here. Make sure everything's going to function properly. Now this thing, as you can see, it's pretty dirty, and that's because it's on a water pump and it's been out in the muddy conditions, dirty conditions. Now we've got a starter that works. That's what we want. So all we got left to do is put the knob on. Now before you put the knob on, of course, you want to take this knot out of here that we put in. So pull it out again. What I like to do is make a little knot like this. And that'll hold it temporarily so that it's not, you're not fighting it when you're trying to work. And then on this one, just take the knot back out. Now of course, in order to get this to go through there, the best thing to do is if you have your little barbecue starter handy, is to melt the end of this. Be careful because this gets good and hot, and it will definitely burn your fingers. Okay, but if you're careful when you use a rag, that'll protect your fingers. And then you go in here with it. Make the same kind of knot that we made at the other end. And remember me to have a super glue on this end. I'm a believer in the super glue on these things here because I've been right in the middle of a project and needed to use my pressure washer, and I pulled the cord right out of it because the knot come untied. And from now on, I'm using super glue. You guys can do what you like. That's my opinion. And I'll get this knot untied here. We'll be good to go. Okay, there we go. We've got a pull start ready to go. Okay, let's get this pull starter back on here. Apparently they lost the bolts that held this on originally because they've got these longer bolts on here and they put a nut on them to act as a spacer. Good as new. Some of the things I wanted to go over are, after fixing that pull start, was this snap-on set here, this impact screwdriver set. They sell for like 170 bucks. And if you're not going to be using one every day, like I did at the motorcycle shop, there's no reason to spend that kind of money. You can pick one up for under $10 at Harbor Freight. And they're a handy little tool to have when you need to get a stubborn screw out or a small nut that's tight. Sometimes you can get them started with that. Another thing I wanted to mention, this parachute cord, you can buy it anywhere. It comes in real handy for a lot of things. It also works good for pull starters. One of the tips you didn't get to see me do was when you're using this stuff, whenever you cut it off, heat up the ends and melt all the fibers together. That way you're not dealing with a raggedy old mess at the end. And how long a cord do you need? Well, you can go by the measuring the old one, if it's the right one that was supposed to be on there. In our case with this one, I just guesstimated how long to make it by how long a pull I was going to make on it. I figured, you know, maybe 36 inches is plenty long enough. You can make them as long as you want, as long as it'll all fit on the reel. But you want to be able to get at least 2 or 3 wraps on that reel. If it's going to vary from machine to machine. On this particular one, 2 or 3 wraps is plenty. On a lot of your Briggs and Stratton, it's the same thing. You don't have to try to get all the cord you can get on there, because you're only going to pull it so far. Maybe 2 feet is going to be your pull, so you don't need a big long super cord on there on these little engines. Also, tying that knot, I showed you I guess you could call it a figure 8 knot. I don't know exactly what the name of it is, but it looks like this. It looks like a figure 8. Be sure and glue those with super glue. Super glue is cheap. You can get that anywhere. And I'll tell you, I'm a believer in it ever since I had one that come untied. Anyway, that's about all the tips and tricks I got for you today. Click on my channel if you want to subscribe, and I'm making a whole series of videos on repairing this Honda motor, and this is just one part about the pull start. From now on, and remember to always work smarter, not harder. See you next time.